Hey, it's Mazzy here, and welcome back. There haven't been a lot of videos in the last month since I've been back from London. Uh, a week later, I get sick, and I had a good 2+ weeks of congestion and sickness, and not COVID, but it was the flu, worse than any flu I've had in decades, literally, and it knocked me out. I've left the house once in the last month. It's not an apology, but it's just a fact because I love making these videos, and in fact, up until this past week, I couldn't play music. I'm one of those that if I'm feeling crappy, I can't play a record because what happens for me is that sense memory of listening to a record when I'm not feeling good and sick, it comes back to haunt me. So a month later, a year later, 5 years later, I listen to that record and I remember, oh my God, I listened to that record when I was sick. How tragic, how horrible. And I don't like the record. I don't like the music. So I'm just getting back into coffee, and I want to do a thank you because this past Saturday night, a month after my birthday and my trip to London, my big birthday, a couple of my friends threw a party for me of just a small group of 14, 15, 16 people at my house. They did everything, they cooked everything, they had a theme and a cocktail. First cocktail I had in maybe 3 weeks since I've been sick, and it was really sweet. So, at the end of this, you're going to see a mini couch video at the end of this from that night. So, I want to thank everyone. You know who you are. I'm not going to mention names. You might recognize some of the people in the very short 20, 30-second video. But I pulled some records that have come into my possession, new releases, new reissues, and a couple of new titles over the last month while I was gone and when I got back. And again, they've been piling up and I haven't been able to listen to it. But this week I've jumped in. I want to start out with A Boot and a Shoe by Sam Phillips. Now, I did a video when this was announced several months ago of this CD. This is, I believe, the 20th anniversary, and this is the last album by Sam Phillips that her then husband T-Bone Burnett produced, and this to me is a wonderful album. I ordered it from the artist site directly, so she signed copies there. I just wanted, because I love her output, I love her music. Been a fan since The Incredible Wow, her debut on Virgin Records. Prior to that, she was kind of a Christian artist of sorts, and she's a pop, folky, Beatle-esque in so many ways. And this originally was on Nonsuch Records, and Omnivore just put this out, and this is an amazing sounding record. Now, let me set the stage in terms of musically what this is. If you took Kurt Weill and Bertolt Brecht, Three Penny Opera, Whiskey Bar, the Doors version of that song, and mixed it with 1965-ish, early 66, mid-66 Beatles with the Beatle arrangements, you'd get Sam Phillips in this album. More on the folky side of the Rubber Soul period in a way. Now, she doesn't sound like the Beatles, but her writing sensibilities, lyrically, and just her melodies are very much like Lennon McCartney, in a way more Lennon, but yet poppy like Paul McCartney, with that 1920s German expressionist of Kurt Weill musically and Bertolt Brecht. And it's a weird mix. And T-Bone Burnett's acoustic, a lot of live drum sound. Jim Keltner's on it, but the main drummer on this throughout most of it, who just really sounds like literally they're in the room, and that is Carla Azer on drums. I just love the sound there. And you got, of course, just acoustic guitars, very stringed instruments, that are really organic, live. The bass is T-Bone Burnett on here. This is such a beautiful record. Now, Sam Phillips was doing the musical score for the TV show The Gilmore Girls during this period. I think a couple of the songs are on there, but I never watched The Gilmore Girls, and it's not my cup of tea usually. Although the same creators eventually would create Mrs. Maisel, Fabulous Mrs. Maisel, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and I adore that. So Sam Phillips, this is a perfect record. I showcased it a couple months ago, and now that it's on vinyl, it's a quiet, beautiful pressing, and just just very melodic and very sexy in a way. Next, if you know Robin Hitchcock, if you don't know Robin Hitchcock, I don't know where you've been. You know, originally the Soft Boys, very a twee, very British artist, and he lived in the Pacific Northwest for some point. I think he might even be living in the States still. And this is he did a book that came out recently, which I haven't seen or read, called 1967, and this is exactly what you expect it to be. He's a child of an influence of 60s pop psychedelia, Baroque pop, and he covers some of the greatest songs on this great year, 1967. I was the last, turned 13 that year, the year I was bar mitzvahed, but you have him open up with kind of twee versions, but he takes them a little inside out. He's faithful to the melodies, but he swaps some of them out. Some work better than others, but he opens up with, of course, the biggest, most played single in the UK on radio and jukebox is A Wider Shade of Pale. There's Ichigu Park, that great Small Faces song. Burning the Midnight Lamp, Jimi Hendrix, I Can Hear the Grass Grow, a song by The Move. Roy Wood wrote that. Of course, he turns inside out, makes like a psychedelic-y version of the John Phillips of the Mamas and Papas song, San Francisco, Be Sure to Wear Some Flowers in Your Hair. Of course, I'm very attached to that song. Scott McKenzie had the hit of it. Of course, one of the greatest pop songs ever of the 1960s, Ray Davis's Waterloo Sunset, the Kinks song, See Emily Play, Pink Floyd, My White Bicycle, No Face, No Name, No Number, which is a great song, and it's a song that people don't know about, but unless they know the melody. Stevie Winwood song, and Jim Capaldi, that's a Traffic cover. Way back in the 60s, is that Robert Williams? And I forgot who originally did that, that folk. Is that Incredible String Band, I'm thinking? Possibly. He does one original called Vacations in the Past. It's an okay song, but he stuck his one in there, and he ends with A Day in the Life, of course, that great Beatles song. This is a fun record. If you like 60s pop psychedelia, this is for you. Of course, it's on psychedelic 1967 pink vinyl. And again, this is a really quiet pressing. I know sometimes you want to hear about, you know, is the pressing good? Where was it? I don't know where this stuff was pressed, but I tell you, I get very few bad pressings. Maybe I'm lucky, or it's my rig, my MC cart. Next, another new record I've been waiting for. I am all in on Nick Lowe. And this is Nick Lowe, Indoor Safari, of course, a little parody takeoff on the lounge music of Martin Denny album covers. And he's powered by, basically backed by Los Straitjackets, that great kind of the Mexican mask wearing outfit that does sort of surf guitar, twangy rock beat, retro rock thing. And I've seen them play together, and they're fabulous. Usually Los Straitjackets will open the set, and then Nick Lowe will come in and do his songs with them backing him. The last show before lockdown I ever saw was them opening up for X, and they were fabulous. They're just a fun outfit there. Nick Lowe and Los Straitjackets, there they are with their Mexican wrestling masks. You can see those all over the Mission Street in the stores, my old neighborhood in San Francisco. Kind of cool. They're kind of fun. But what's good about this, the last 20 years, he's been doing this kind of the elder statesman crooner albums. Very beautiful, romantic, kind of a modern day crooner. This is nothing like that. This is kind of like I want to say slowed down, but it's not a slowed down album. It's more in the vein of the stuff he did with Dave Edmunds' Rockpile. More of that Rockpile kind of retro thing, upbeat songs with them playing, and it's a really good mix. So his voice, Nick Lowe's voice, is as good as ever. His songwriting is as good as ever. He's got a little of that power pop thing going with, but more on the pub rock type thing happening here with that rock and roll bass of Los Straitjackets. So really a wonderful, successful record, one I like. Now, two records that are total reissues and rejiggered versions of from Mobile Fidelity, and this is Berlin, and I've loved this record since the beginning, but this was a record that was controversial in a way. Controversial because it wasn't successful initially after the Transformer came out with Take a Walk on the Wild Side, less commercial, existential Berlin influenced here, literally called Berlin. But this has grown in stature and it's become really a cult classic of Lou Reed's albums. What is this, 1972, I believe this came out. Yeah. And I think Mo Fidelity has done a great job. I think it's great because they're doing some out-of-the-box titles now. You know, they're not always successful, and I will give them their due when they do it right. This is Krieg Wunderlich, who does most of the vinyl versions, does the cutting of these, and I think he's a really good mastering engineer. Again, I don't buy the box, I don't buy the one steps. I just don't. I stay away from that stuff for the most part. But when these come out and it's a title I want, and especially a title like this, it's a fuller, richer version of the original. The original's fine if you have an early, that Dynaflex record. I'm sure you're good for the most part. I would say this is a meatier version, meatier, M-E-A-T, as in thicker in a way. Not boomy, but really well balanced. I love this. Now this one, Mo Fidelity Sound Labs, my favorite Simon & Garfunkel record. I read somewhere someone saying, well, it's not really a good sounding record to begin with. Bullshit. I call bullshit on this. I think this is a fabulous sounding record. My I didn't A-B it yet, and I will A-B it. I think the original is probably more enjoyable, better than this. This is fabulous. Now, this is a different banner. If you notice, this is Mo Fidelity Sound Labs, which means I can't guarantee it's the original tape. It might be a dub, which is fine because apparently the original one is lost. Kind of wish they did the mono, but Paul Simon hates the mono, and it's very rare. So if you come across a mono version of this, grab it. I do have one. I still prefer this in stereo. It's such a great folk rock with a little bit of psychedelic stuff thrown in, and some of the greatest songs. You know, some people think that the weak link in here is the voices of old people, the recordings in the old age home that Art Garfunkel recorded, but it kind of fits the concept of bookend. And you know, what is that line on here? On old friends, sitting on park bench like bookends. God, it just what is it? How suddenly strange to turn 70. Hi, America. Save the life of my child. Still a little congested here. Hazy Shade of Winter, of course. At the Zoo. Mrs. Robinson. A perfect record. This sounds really good. I'd say it's got a little more in the bass side, but again, I have not A-B'd it yet. I will do it, but I just, this last week, when I'm finally jumping into music, just want to enjoy the music for the music and not as a comparable I hate to say work thing, but you know, telling you what you should get, what you shouldn't get. If you have a 2i or even maybe a 360 Columbia and it's a great sounding record, just enjoy it. Maybe you don't need this, but I'm not here to sell you on the record, just tell you when it's a record that I love, and this is now my love. I think they did a fabulous job on this. But again, I haven't done the ABC test of various pressings, and I'll probably do that for myself. Now, this is a very special record, and this is the priciest record here. This is from Sam Records out of France. Essentially an EP, 8 songs, produced by Norman Granz, 500 copies. This is number 331. This is Jango Reinhardt. This is from their limited series, The Great Artistry of Jango Reinhardt, with these beautifully, hand-printed covers, screen-printed covers. This comes obviously in its separate sleeve. The great French label here. This is so good. Now, I am a fan of Jango Reinhardt. I've been a fan since the 70s. I would get any volume I'd see of the Hot Club of France with Stefan Grappelli. A great gypsy guitarist, one of the greatest jazzy guitar players ever. This is recorded, I believe, in 1957 or 1958, one of his last ever recordings by Norman Granz. Originally on the Clef label. This is fantastic. It's an EP. It's 45 RPM. You got some standards on here like The Great Brazil. You have September Song. You have Night and Day, Blues for Ike. Just a beautiful, beautiful, and it's just Jango Reinhardt on guitar, Maurice Vander on piano, Pierre Michelot on bass, and Jean-Louis Vitali on drums. And it's a spectacular record. Again, if you're a fan of Jango, this is a very limited edition. I have number 331 hand numbered here. These are about $100, give or take. And it includes the insert, obviously just the separate inner sleeve here. But I am a huge fan of Sam Records, and I am a huge fan of Jango Reinhardt. So that is a personal favorite of mine. That's it today. Just some records I got and the records I've been easing back into, and I'm still kind of congested, haven't really gone out much, but thank you for watching, and stand by for the little sign off of my wonderful friends who celebrated my birthday a month after my actual birthday that happened while I was in London. Thanks again. Mazzy loves you.